Talk's brilliant international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Happy New Year to you, Isabel, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. And in that roundup that you did just there with lots of exciting stories, there was one thing missing. I'm sure we will come to it. Well, many things missing.
I'm starting the year by getting told off, aren't I? What did I miss?
Well, no, you're not getting told off at all. I'm just thinking that Keir Starmer has had such a lucky break here, because a story that was dominating all the headlines just a few days ago, his absolute fiasco over the Egyptian Al Fattah, who he made his top priority to welcome to the UK, has been virtually drowned out by all the global dramas, by the events in Venezuela and, speculation over whether Trump might be about to try and take over Greenland. But I think we shouldn't let him off the hook. And I know that here on this show, we never let Keir Starmer.
Certainly not.
This is just your beginning of what should be a daily reminder that this woeful government made it their top priority to bring a hate-mongering extremist to the UK. There you go, folks.
Yeah, I mean, Alaa Abd El Fattah, it's an extraordinary story that, but, you've got Keir Starmer, you've got the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, saying, I don't know what happened here. Some sort of intelligence breakdown. We didn't know. We didn't know about his dodgy background. We didn't know about all these posts that he'd been making, calling for the death of Jews, these definite hate, racially incited posts. We didn't know about that. Everybody else did. I mean, it's standard practice, isn't it? Before you talk about anybody or you talk to anybody these days, you Google them. Neither Starmer nor Cooper nor anyone in this useless government thought to do that. And Alaa Abd El Fattah is now here and probably ensconced, thanks to this useless Prime Minister and his incredible incompetence. But I did feel it was fun in a way to watch him squirm after Trump's people stormed into Venezuela, that extraordinary initiative over the weekend. Now, here's my point, my position on this. Like all normal people, like a sort of ordinary citizen of this world, indeed of this country, I don't give a flying damn about international law. I couldn't care less about it. I'll tell you why. It's because there's no such thing, really. They make up the rules as they go on. International law is what the most powerful nations on the earth, on the face of the planet, want at any given time. Whatever's expedient to America, Britain, France, all the big wigs in the world, international law will be in their favour. It is a shape-shifting, movable, vile feast. It's a joke. Nobody, no normal people, give a damn about international law. It's a sort of a fetish, a kind of private club fetish for pompous politicians who live in their own closeted world. So I don't care what Trump did. I'm sort of feeling I rather like it. I don't see why Maduro and his awful wife should get away with what they were getting away with. I quite like America saying, listen, we're the most powerful country on earth and we're going to act like it. I quite like that. I do fear that going forward in Venezuela, there may be some bad headlines in store for Donald Trump because, regime change is one thing. What happens next is another thing. All of that said, so that's my view. I think good luck to Donald Trump. We'll see what happens. I've got my misgivings, but good luck to him. I like a man of action. God, we could do with a man of action. So I don't care about international law because I'm a normal person. I'm sure you don't either. But Keir Starmer, it is everything. It is sacred to him. Him and his useless, gormless cretin of a mate, Richard Hermer, the Attorney General. International law, international law. It's all they ever go on about. And we're all going, what exactly the hell is international law? We don't even know what it is. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a load of sort of nebulous claptrap that idiots in Westminster obsess on and the rest of us don't care about. So good luck to Donald Trump. I think he could be in trouble, but good luck to him for what he did. He's arrested as a clear sort of drug dealer, and his wife's even worse than Maduro, Cecilia, terrible woman. You know when after they got married, the Maduros, she appointed to the government 40 of her family members. 40.
Oh my God.
These two are as corrupt as the day is long. So they will get their just desserts in America. So we don't care. But it really matters to Keir Starmer. And I think what is extraordinary is here we are, 3 days after it happened, and he has still not told us whether he believes international law has been breached. He has still not given us his learned human rights lawyer opinion on what happened in Venezuela, and I suspect he never will, because although privately, make no mistake, this Prime Minister believes firmly, so does Yvette Cooper, so do all those lefties in the Labour government, they believe firmly that international law has been broken. I suspect that the Prime Minister won't have the guts to say anything because he doesn't want to offend Donald, right?
Oh, 100%. It's quite delicious to watch this, isn't it? I mean, privately, he will be absolutely horrified, as will, the Foreign Secretary and all the Starmerites. This is just not their way of doing things. And if anything has brought international law into total gross disrepute, it is this government's failure to deal with the Channel migrants, and that is all down to international law and their obsession with that. Like you, I don't give a monkey's what some distant treaty that no one really understands says about who we can and can't have in our country. That's what a country is. It's a country defined by borders and the ability to control who comes in and who goes out. So I don't think most people do give a monkeys for any of that. But as you say, Keir Starmer certainly does, and the people around him certainly do, and they will be horrified by what's happened and terrified by what might be about to come. But Starmer fancies himself as a bit of a mate of Donald Trump's. I mean, more unlikely a pairing none of us could probably imagine. But Trump has indulged him, hasn't he? And Starmer's sort of not messed it up as spectacularly as he messes most things up. And so that relationship is at least cordial. And he won't want to become a kind of Sadiq Khan figure in Donald Trump's eyes. He watches pretty much every week as Trump says what a terrible mayor Sadiq Khan is, and is thankful that ire is not being directed at him. So I imagine he's just going to try and ride this one out like he rides everything out.
Which will beg the question, what will he say when Trump invades Greenland? What will he say when Trump invades Colombia? I mean, that's why I do think usually these stories that happen a long way away in countries that people have never been to, you think, well, that's not that interesting to the people of Britain. But I do think this story is interesting because I think Trump is dramatically changing the dial on American foreign policy. And he's saying, look, if countries near us are mismanaged and allow themselves to be brought under very serious Russian and Chinese influence, which is exactly what Venezuela has allowed itself to be affected by. America is saying, well, we're not going to let that happen. We just won't let it happen. So right now, today, all of a sudden, Cuba is no longer getting any Venezuelan oil. I think it's a really interesting sort of statement by Trump about the way America is going to conduct itself in the future. No more sort of Biden hiding in the wings. America is going to bang the drum and say, we are the most powerful nation on the face of the earth, and we are going to get what we want.
And it's such a different way of doing things, isn't it? So I agree with you. Most people probably struggle to put Venezuela precisely on the map, roughly where it is. But very few of us have been there, know anyone from there, know much about Venezuela. But the idea that a US president can operate this unconventionally, this wasn't any kind of war. I mean, he just basically sent stormtroopers in and they snatched the guy, took him out, and He faces trial now in the US, and they've installed someone that they think will be more favorable. I mean, when was the last time that happened without, loads of hand wringing at the UN and attempts to get resolutions and, disappointments as votes aren't passed and so on? He's just kind of gone for it. And it completely changes the whole game, doesn't it? I think Cuba is a much more likely next target than
I agree with
Greenland.
you.
I mean, Greenland, that it's pretty spiky, isn't it? I mean, he loves to give the rhetoric, but will that actually happen? I don't know. But Cuba is a very much more obvious target.
There's also made noises that if Denmark, which of course governs Greenland, kicks up about this, that America will take on Denmark as well. So they'll be charging into Copenhagen. I think that's something of a long shot, but it is discombobulating, I think, for the international community that we have a president who's acting in a way that no president ever has before. Not telling Congress and just saying, well, if I'd have told Congress, the secret would have got out. So he's essentially empowered himself to just go round. I mean, he said it's not declaring war on Venezuela, but it was an invasion. They took over the country. By the way, with only 5,000 troops. They needed 160,000 in Iraq when they took over Iraq. So a very small number of troops, very small number of people. I do think Trump going forward, though, is going to find that just going into Caracas and saying, we're now running Venezuela, that's a cool thing to say, but the reality of we are running Venezuela, I think, is going to prove to be very difficult terrain indeed.
I'm sure that's right. And I mean, I'm sure and hope that they have done plenty of planning for what happens after these early days. But we know the history of this is not a good one. And like you, I kind of instinctively admire it, but equally we know that it could all go horribly wrong. And it just has such seismic implications for the whole way things are conducted. In the UK, David Cameron set a very dangerous precedent by trying to ask the House of Commons if he could do certain things, and then finding it's a lot more difficult than, if you put things out to consultation, they become much more difficult to actually implement. And Trump has just bypassed all of that. He's just gone for it. And
yeah, he's changed the rules. And he's also talking about Colombia as well. As you say, maybe Greenland, maybe Denmark. But we should take this very seriously. It's a very serious change of course for international politics. But you can't, as you pointed out, Isabel, you can't help quite enjoying how much Starmer is squirming about this. He wants to say, this is a disgraceful breach of international law and must be deplored and condemned in the strongest possible terms. But he can't do it because he can't bring himself to offend Donald Trump. It's an interesting situation. But I think going forward, he's going to have to say something before too long. But as yet, he hasn't said a damn thing. Let's go to break now. When we come back, we'll talk about his other sort of New Year initiative, old Keir Starmer, and that is he's cozying up even closer to the EU, to Brussels, and people say he's on the cusp of a serious Brexit betrayal because he's lurching to the left because he can't get any favour on the right. So let's talk about that when we come back. Stay where you are, folks. Welcome back. We're still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, Keir Starmer. First, let's talk about him edging ever closer to Brexit, refusing to deny to Laura Kuenssberg on the BBC that he won't perhaps even go as far as not rejoining the customs union. So he might rejoin the single market, which will be the end of Brexit. He's actually saying that, which is extraordinary. But before we get to that, he made his New Year's speech today, in which he trolled out that tired old chattering class cliche. The King's very keen on this as well, that diversity is Britain's strength. Let's have a quick watch.
The next election is going to be about a question of what is it to be British? And I believe to be British is to be compassionate, reasonable, live and let live, and diverse. And I am proud to serve our diverse country and all of its parts. It is British to be diverse.
Why doesn't he just shut up? I mean, does he really think that appeals to people? You know, you know, we all like the idea, you know, the united colours of Benetton, we all live together in perfect harmony, but we are experiencing now in Britain a catastrophic failure, in my view, of multiculturalism. I am in favour of multiculturalism in principle, but we're looking at the reality of it and it isn't working out well. And for him to stand there today and say, diversity is our strength, the diverse people, you know, it's not what it proves, how far out of touch he is with the people of this country. We're sick of this nonsense. We're sick of being told diversity is our strength, because right now it looks like diversity is our increasing weakness.
I actually think that diversity is our undoing at this point. It is becoming our undoing. And that is a shame, because the principle of it is quite appealing. It depends what you mean by it. You know, if you mean lots of people from lots of different backgrounds and with lots of different heritage and loving different types of people and all of that can all have a happy life in the UK, well, all well and good. But if diversity means that we don't judge anyone for behaving totally inappropriately in a way that is completely out of line with the standards that we have in the UK and that we've always had, the cultural norms, then that's not okay. And where diversity has gone really wrong is that we don't have enough to unify us at the moment. Instead of harping on about diversity, what Keir Starmer should be focusing on are what are the key things that actually bring everybody together. And the real fear is that those things are disintegrating by putting this diversity thing on the altar the whole time. Everything else is being sacrificed and it just doesn't work. And we can all see that it's not working, apart from apparently Keir Starmer. And if he goes around constituencies outside the M25, if he goes up north and starts going, diversity is our strength, that is the fastest way to him losing a swathe of seats in which normal people will vote for anything but that.
Well, very well said, because it fits in very nicely with his apparent desire to, if possible, go as far as rejoining the single market, the customs single market, which means we'll be back in the EU, having to accept all their laws, rules and regulations. There are millions of laws, rules and regulations, but we'll have no vote at the table. So we'll have to do what we're told, but we won't have any share in the power. He's saying that he may be edging towards that. This is a betrayal of what Labour pledged in its manifesto. They said they wouldn't get any closer to Europe. Well, let's have a look at him droning on about this, shall we?
This 2026 is the year that we're going to be turning a corner where, when we say we want national renewal of the country, and we do, it becomes a reality. And people begin to feel the difference in their pockets, in the ability to pay the bill, and that's why we're saying we're turning a corner into 2026.
Who sets up these appearances by Starmer? Look at that. See that sunshine across his face? Looks like a complete mess. He's so amateurish. Yes, he's been talking about, he said to Laura Kuenssberg, if necessary, he may go as far as rejoining the customs union if he thinks that's good for Britain. He's talking about this year we'll turn the corner, we'll start to feel the benefits of Labour's great policies in our pockets, in our empty pockets, trust me. But if he he's making no bones about it. He's as good as saying, I want us to rejoin the single market. If we don't rejoin the single market, he's saying, I want to go as close as possible to that. That is an outright betrayal of what people in Britain voted for.
It is absolutely stunning in its arrogance, isn't it? You know, 17.4 million people in the UK voted for Brexit, the single biggest democratic mandate of its kind ever in our history. Is he insane to want to take on all those people? Because while some of them may have felt that it hasn't worked out that well. And the reason that it hasn't worked out that well is that no administration has actually tried to make any use of it. We've actually got the building blocks there. We've got the infrastructure. We've kind of got the framework to be a totally different country, liberated from all that Brussels claptrap, but we've made very little use of it at all. So understandably, some people feel a little bit frustrated about that. I would say that millions and millions and millions, the vast majority of people that voted for Brexit would do so again. And many that didn't, having seen the total shambles that is a lack of control of our borders and so on, they will interpret that as even more reason to vote for Brexit again. So does he really want to take on all those people? I mean, that really is properly poking the bear, isn't it?
It really is. And then you've got West Streeting, obviously waiting in the wings, desperate to move into number 10. He's already measuring up the curtains and all that. Good luck with that, West. I don't think he'll make the grade, but he's got plans. And he's pretty much saying he'll rejoin the EU if he can, if he gets into number 10 Downing Street. This Labour government has just given up on honouring the democratic decision of this country made in 2016 to leave the European Union. This Labour government is reneging on that. It's just saying, right, well, we'll rejoin now. And of course, because Starmer is such an automaton, he thinks that rejoining the EU will bestow automatic economic well-being upon this country. Well, it won't, will it? I mean, but this is their ideology. This is what Labour think. If we're in bed with Brussels, then we're economically prosperous. No, you're not. But that's the way he thinks.
Well, I also think that he would love as his legacy to be, the Prime Minister that brought the UK back into the EU. That as he sees it, that drew a line under the chaotic disaster of Brexit is how he would characterise it. He would love that, wouldn't he? And I think there are elements within the Labour Party, Labour Party strategists who wonder whether this is what they've got left. They are not going to have an amazing economic revival. Rachel Reeves's growth agenda has been a total and utter disaster. They've lost control of our borders. They're unable to deliver on pretty much anything in their manifesto. They're not going to build all those houses. That's been a complete joke as well. So what have they got left? There are Labour Party strategists, I believe, who think that rejoining the EU will be the one big rallying cry that could garner them loads of voters. I think they're very, very wrong about that.
They're just trapped in their own bubble, and they're so damn wrong about it. It really is worrying. I mean, do you think Starmer will be? He said, "Oh, let me tell you, Laura, I will be here in 2027. I was thinking, yeah, but will he be here in 2029? But I think what he meant was, I'll be here in the chair, still in number 10 Downing Street at the beginning of 2027. I think that's something of a long shot. What do you think? What do you reckon his prospects are this year?
Well, I mean, if the Labour Party knows what's good for them, then they'd get rid of him now. I mean, perhaps right after the May elections, the optimal time, because no new leader wants to have that likely failure on their record sheet. But Labour Party is not very good at getting rid of prime ministers. I watched them try and fail, for example, with Gordon Brown in the run-up to 2010, the agonies that they went through trying to depose Tony Blair, who was, after all, a massive vote winner, and they still found it really difficult to move him on. That took years of negotiations. So I don't know. I mean, perhaps they're stupid enough to muddle along with Starmer for a lot longer than is electorally good for them. I mean, of course, that's great for opposition parties. Happy days.
What is going on with Starmer and all the other contenders, be they Streeting, Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband, Shabana Mahmood, all the contenders, is they've given up on trying to court the sort of centrist dad territory, which is what Starmer's been going for, slightly to the left, but pretty centrist. They've given up on that because it's landed them with the unenviable position as the least popular government in modern history. The unpopularity popularity ratings for Keir Starmer are off the scale. So they've given up on trying to tread the centrist path. And they think that their best bet of gaining some popularity is to go very left-wing. So that, I think, is our future, which is, the problem so far is they've been way too left-wing. Their solution is to be even more left-wing, and that, Isabel, is somewhat worrying.
It is terrifying for the country. Now, I don't think it can be sold to the public en masse, not the Labour version of it. But what I do think is really very worrying is some kind of coalition of left-wing nutters. Imagine that there's a Labour kind of deal with Greens and with other socialist crazies, and that is in some way pitted against what Keir Starmer is desperately branding a very right-wing Reform UK. I mean, those were the words he used, very right-wing. Well, I mean, only compared to him and the Greens could anything that Reform says be characterised as very right-wing. It's basically what policies that most people seem to want, hence the polls. But that is how I think that he is going to pitch things.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's going to be a very interesting year. Just before we do go to break, do you think there's any possibility that, as Starmer promises, we're going to turn the corner? Cost of living crisis will lessen and we'll feel the benefits in our pocket? I mean, with Rachel Reeves running the economy, good luck with that, I would have thought.
None whatsoever.
I thought you might say that. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the migrant crisis. That next, folks. Stay tuned. Welcome back, still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, action on the channel today. We think 30 or 40 migrants have come across today, but quite a lot of activity over on the French side of the channel, where earlier in the day, 30 migrants were taken to hospital, we think, with severe hypothermia. Pretty cold. The sea is calm, but the temperatures, as we know, are extremely icy. So it's happening. I mean, not a big day, but 40 or so, we think, came across today. So it's still carrying on. It's continuing apace. Today's big announcement from the government was we're going to start seizing migrants' mobile phones when they arrive here on the small boats, on the illegal small boats. And we're all going, you didn't think about doing this before? You mean they've been coming in for the past 15 years and we haven't even taken their phones? It's unbelievable, but it won't make any difference at all. So that's what's being announced. But what I think is interesting is that while the gendarmes continue to stand there waving au revoir to the migrants as they get into their small boats and dinghies and head to the promised lands, 21 miles across the channel to Dover, Folkestone and the like, while the gendarmes do nothing about this, today we've learnt that the French Interior Minister, a guy called Laurent Nunez, is furious because he's just found out that British vigilantes have been going over to the northern French beaches, and what they've been doing is they've been literally disrupting migrants getting onto the small boats, stopping their voyages, doing what the French police ought to do. They've also been going around looking for buried dinghies. A lot of inflatables are buried there, finding them and stabbing them, and puncturing them. So British vigilantes have been going on in quite large numbers. They're mainly from the Raising the Colours organisation and doing what they can to stop the migrant crisis, to at least disrupt it. The French response to this is one of utter fury. Suddenly they've been galvanised into action. French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez saying that the gendarmes will mobilise to prevent UK members of Raising the Colours stopping foreigners climbing onto the dinghies and roaming the beaches. So in other words, they're going to go massive crackdown on the British vigilantes who are going over there to try to do something about it. So they can arrest them, but they don't arrest the migrants getting into small boats to come to Britain. Great, isn't it?
Well, I've been talking about this for a few months now. I've been talking about the fact that the gendarme, rather than targeting the actual criminals, the people that have broken into their own country and are now running wild in the north of France, basically turning that whole strip of the northern coast of France into a kind of badland where there are guns and weapons. You know, gunfire's heard most nights in the camps, in the migrant camps of Dunkirk. Instead of targeting the criminals and drug dealers in the migrant camps, they're turning their attention to British campaigners and journalists that go and try to expose what's happening. I mean, it is extraordinary how much attention you will get if you go over there with a camera and some recording equipment and try to film what's going on, try to film the inadequacy of the police response there, try to film what goes on behind the scenes, the work of the charities, the true horrors of those migrant camps, the mess, the degradation, the squalor, the danger, the disease and illness. If you try to film that as a British journalist, you're going to get a really hard time by the French police. They threaten to arrest you. They search your bags. They demand to see your passport. They want to see your media credentials. How is it that they have so much energy to shoot the messenger and so little energy to actually target the people who should not be in the country in the first place? And this kind of vigilante action, I think, will only get worse, will only build as the British people say, you know what, if the authorities, if the French authorities taking hundreds of millions of our taxpayers' money are not stopping the invasion, then we reluctantly, because we've all got jobs to do, will have to try to take the law into our own hands. I'm not endorsing that, but I am warning that that is a very natural response of people who fear the implications of all these undocumented men coming over into our communities.
Totally agree. I mean, I completely understand the motivations of these vigilantes, but we cannot condone going over to a foreign country and taking the law into your own hands, which is what they're doing. So we can't condone that. I understand what is motivating them, but they shouldn't be doing this. And it's quite right that the police are stopping them. Or trying to stop them, are saying we're going to arrest them. I mean, that's what the French police should do. So we all go, oh, well done, French police. But what we're noticing is, I see, your all action when it comes to these vigilantes, but when it's the actual migrants leaving France and getting onto small boats and dinghies to sail over illegally to Britain, you just stand there and look. Seems like two-tier French policing to me, doesn't it you?
That is exactly what this is. You know, the French authorities are enabling all of this. It is in their interest. They have decided as a country for these migrants to flow through France and on to the UK. And it would simply not be possible for these camps and the whole trade to exist without basically the connivance of the French authorities. Even simple things like the free transport that is provided, that facilitates the passage of these migrants from the camps to boat departure points. There's no need for the French state to provide free transport. That is insanity. Why would you enable the whole thing like that? Why would you allow charities to set up shop all around these camps? Because without these charities providing food, providing electricity, providing sanitation facilities, it just couldn't happen. It would not be a way of sustaining the whole system. So the French authorities, they owe us a lot of money. In my view, we, the British, should be suing them. We should be asking for our money back. We should not be paying them a penny more.
Yeah, £500 million they've taken off us to patrol their own beaches, not particularly effectively. And as we've been discussing, the only thing that energises them is the possibility that journalists might reveal that they're not doing their job very well, might film them not doing their job very well, or the possibility that British vigilantes might come across to northern France and do their job properly, better than they do. These are the two things that really get the gendarmes going. When it comes to stopping the boats or stopping the migrants, don't really care, do they? It's absolutely pathetic. It really is. All these politicians, you still hear people in the cabinet saying, we've got to get round the table with France. Forget it. France are not our friends in this, are they?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely pointless wasting any more time on the French. We're on our own with this one. We have to find a workaround the French rather than any kind of cooperation with them. They have absolutely stitched us up and they continue to do so. And they make an absolute laughing stock of that so-called cooperation. It's not in their interests. They're very, very happy for this problem to come our way.
Exactly right. So as I say, according to my sources, the first 30 or 40 or so migrants have come across the channel for this year, 2026. The first migrants have arrived in Britain, only a handful of them, but still they come. And we have a government that's doing nothing about it. I have no idea what to do. Among his many other problems, Keir Starmer is a beached whale when it comes to the migrant crisis. He has no clue what to do. Not a single Scooby-Doo. It's a tragedy to behold. Let's go to break and we'll talk about hypocrisy when we come back. There's a lot of it in this government, as we know. We're going to focus on the epic hypocrisy of nut zero lunatic crazy Ed Miliband. That next. Stick around, folks. Welcome back, still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. Talking of international, Isabel, crazy Ed Miliband, the Nut Zero secretary, is seriously global in his travels. Official figures have just revealed that since July, last July, not the one just gone, July 24, when this Labour government was voted into power, so what is that, 18 months or so, 20 months, I don't know. Since then, Miliband's merry eco gang, all the people who work for him at the Nut Zero department, have taken 33 air travel trips, racking up more than 150,000 carbon spewing miles. That's 6 times round the earth they've been. Ed himself has done 50,000 air miles with trips to glamorous places like Brazil, India and China. If you remember the COP30 fiasco, that stupid climate change conference that they have every year for no apparent reason, well, old Ed went there twice. He went, left and then went back. So my point, the energy department, the energy secretary's department, has racked up £160,000 worth of air tickets expenditure, and they've gone round the circumference of the earth more than 6 times. This is just hypocrisy on an epic scale, isn't it? This is classic do as I say, not what I do. You know, he's not the only one. These people, they get on my... it's like the King Charles in his speech, his New Year speech, called for a revolution in the way we live to tackle the climate change emergency. What he's talking about is you and me don't get on aeroplanes to go to Spain on holiday. We don't drive a petrol car. We try to cut back on our use of electricity, etc., etc. He wants us to change our lifestyle to help save the planet. The sovereign, King Charles, has got 15 homes, palaces, castles, country lodges, most of which run on fossil fuels. Buckingham Palace runs on fossil fuels. He's got a huge fleet of vintage cars, Rolls Royces, Daimlers, you name it, he's got it. And in the last couple of years, he's jetted at great cost to the environment to, among other distant destinations, Rome, Mombasa, Sydney and Samoa. I am sick of these people in high places telling us to change our lives when they do nothing about their own lives.
Yeah, what a farce. I feel this story is incomplete without knowing just how many trees would have to be planted to offset Ed Miliband. I mean, if we added like everything that he's destroying in the UK, all the acres of amazing farmland that he wants to carpet in solar panels, the pristine marine environments that he wants to plant wind and wave turbines in. If we took all of that together, how much planting and kind of ecological recovery would be needed to offset Ed? I think it would be absolutely enormous. And, you know, these people, they know no shame, do they?
They don't know.
They just spout this stuff, never look to themselves. I mean, what about Starmer? We haven't even thrown in however many air miles he's clocked up. He's always globe-trotting, isn't he? Much prefers to be on a plane somewhere far away than anywhere in the UK dealing with our problems. And frankly, we're probably better off not having him here anyway. But it's just a net zero disaster by their own arguments.
Yeah, exactly right. Most of Ed Miliband's trips, or a lot of them, are to attend conferences to talk about the climate change emergency, how we can save the planet. Well, I'll tell you how we can save the planet, Ed, is if you and your mates who like to fly to glamorous destinations to discuss the future of the world, the future of the planet, did your conferences on Zoom, the planet might have a few more years left in it rather than you lot destroying it with your carbon spewing jet setting. See what I mean? I mean, they do nothing. They just enjoy going to glamorous places to talk about nonsense that they do nothing about. They will fly to Brazil, to Mombasa, to Sydney, to Samoa to talk about saving the planet that they've just helped to destroy by flying there in the first place. It's just ludicrous. It's the sort of stuff that makes people, that divorces people from politics. They see this palpable hypocrisy, and people go, well, you expect us to take this seriously? Do you expect us to take Ed Miliband seriously? It's just awful, don't you think?
Yeah, as is the prospect of Ed Miliband being the most popular Labour choice for a successor to Keir Starmer. I mean, can you imagine what that would mean for the nation? I mean, that is enough to really, really trouble you. Maybe even think that you prefer to stick with Starmer than have a Prime Minister, Ed Miliband. And I think there's insufficient attention paid to the enormous pollutant effect of all the creation of these solar panels and turbines that don't last forever and don't work when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. It's always, people always imagine that that comes from nowhere, but it doesn't. You know, you've got to get rid of these things when they don't work. You have to create them in the first place. It's not how it seems.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, Keir Starmer says, oh, this year is going to be my cost of living drive. I'm going to get the cost of living down. You will start to feel things in your pocket. Well, Keir and Ed, not if we continue to have to pay the highest energy prices on the face of the earth.
Exactly
we have the highest energy prices of any country anywhere, 5 times higher than America, because of these lunatics and their ridiculous policies that bear no relation to people's real lives. So we are not going to improve our cost of living crisis by continuing to pay for Ed's net zero insanity.
That is absolutely right. I mean, the single most dramatic thing they could do to boost the economy and to boost people's private, you know, their income, the way they feel about how tough things are, would be to ditch this net zero insanity. You know, it's impossible for many businesses to actually make any kind of profit because their energy bills, many businesses find that their energy bills are just so high. And, you know, I've just noticed, again, cost of living stuff going up. You know, I'm out of the country, I'm out of the UK quite a bit. Every time I come back, I'm kind of shocked by how things have increased in price. And so much of what is driving that is the fuel prices, is the cost of production.
Exactly right. I mean, businesses are suffering. Individuals are suffering. We're still getting taxed to the hilt. I just don't know where Keir Starmer gets his idea that this will be the year we turn the corner. It's interesting he's saying that, though, isn't it? This will be the year we turn the corner. So he's implicitly accepting that the last year has been a disaster and we need to turn the corner.
Yeah, he is accepting that, but those words, I think, are going to come back to haunt him. You know, everything that they're doing points in the opposite direction. All these new workers' rights that they're planning, all these, you know, raises in income for benefits claimants, all of that goes precisely against the growth that they keep saying is going to come and is just around the corner. You know, another thing, by the way, just before we finish up, how sick of you are you of hearing Keir Starmer say he's proud of things? I don't think he's got anything to be proud of. Why does he keep saying, I'm proud to lead this and I'm proud? We're not proud of you, and you shouldn't be proud of you either.
What was his famous quote in the Oval Office that time? We're very proud of our records of 300 years of freedom of speech. And I was screaming at the TV screen, you're locking people up for tweets. You don't know anything about freedom of speech. Proud, proud, proud. He's got nothing to be proud of. You're exactly right.